Well, somebody's already here. Good evening, whoever you are. Maybe a few more people show up in a few minutes. Give them some time. Lag time in the video feed. I love that. Maybe a few more will show up. No, I haven't given these evil things up yet, but I'm working on it. Stressful day, so stressful week. And I've got to work tomorrow. I think 5 o'clock or either 6 o'clock in the afternoon till 10 at night. And they're going to want me to take a break, even if it's 4 hours or 30 minutes. And it takes me half an hour of pay to get to and from work. So I'm basically working for 3 hours of pay, and 3 hours of pay doesn't even pay my gas for 1 week back to the school. So I'm wasting time at this job. But I do have a line on a job that I might be able to get as a grave digger. Just don't tell them I got a back injury, and most of it's for the backhoe anyway, and it's not very hard work. So somebody else is doing this. Who else is doing this? Let's see if the participants list will show me. No, it will not show me. Whoever you are, you're incognito. But I'm sure you're one of my favorite people in the world. If not, you will be. All because you're here. And I didn't get finished with fertilizing and healing up my potatoes today. I wound up having to pull a few weeds by hand, and then I got the fertilizer put out. So tomorrow I'll heal them up. Hey, Stacy. Oh, you know you're one of my favorites. But tomorrow I got to finish healing up my potatoes because I wound up deciding to pull some of the bigger winter weeds that wouldn't get completely covered up, and I had to pull them by hand. And then I got my fertilizer out. So tomorrow I'll hill them up, and then I'll probably have to do that one more time in about a month, and then I should have a good potato crop come 1st of May. Last April, I should have a pretty good crop. By the end of April, I'll be harvesting them all. Still got a few mustard that's bolting that I got to feed the animals and get that all to it in. Hey, Christy, glad you could make it. I just clicked over from the Broussards. I left the other screen open with it playing for them. They went to the Deep South Gathering and they gained like almost 150 subscribers from just walking around meeting people. I wish there were more YouTubers in Southeast Georgia where we could actually all get together and have a meetup. It would be great, but there's not many of us. I haven't flown a kite in years. The last time I remember flying a kite was when I was about 15. I took left when we grew a lot of tobacco down here, and they would string it up on sticks and hang it in the barn and flew cure it. I probably had 3/4 of a mile of string, and I had a kite that was probably 5 foot long and 4 foot wide, and I flew this thing. It was in the air for 3 days before it fell. It was amazing. I wound up finding it half a mile down in the woods where it hit the ground because that 3/4 miles of the string, it was all through the tops of the trees. It took me forever to roll it up. Yeah, their big announcement was they're going to the shindig. So glad to get to go, but I just don't have the time or the money to be able to do that. I know it would help my channel out and, get exposure, but I'm just not able to. When I was younger, I used to fly kites all the time, but that one that was up in the air for 3 days, the neighbors would ride by and they would see it and they would all, comment about that kite still flying. Yeah, it was up there for a little over 3 days, day and night. It took that long for it to actually the wind to quit blowing strong enough for it to stay up, and it finally fell. Kids these days, you're right, they don't do anything fun. And there's nothing like going to the beach and flying kites or having kite fights when you put the ground up glass on the string and you try to cut the other guy's string and make him lose his kite. They have no idea about that. But I like to see how high I can get a kite to go and how long I can keep it in the air. That 3/4 of a mile of tobacco twine, that was my best one ever. I'd say it was about 3.5 days total it was in the air. That was a good one. I mean, neighbors from all around the area that drove down the road could see it flying, and they'd all stop and ask about it. That was pretty cool. Yeah, huge school can't get a good running start to get that thing up in the air. Plus, there's probably power lines all in your way. Yeah, sometimes you just got to wait for the right conditions. Which I've never had a kite that had the little string tail with all the little pieces on it. I've never had a kite like that. I've always had the great big, look like a coffin kite. I've always liked the big ones, the ones that I can really get up in the air. And model rockets, I used to like to do model rockets, but you can't get a kid to do a model rocket now. The only thing they're interested in is how does the motor work because they know it's got an explosive propellant in it. They just want to see it take off. They don't want to go get it. They don't want to put it back together. They just want to hit the button to make it launch, and that's it. They don't want to do the rest of the work. I've heard of a parafoil, but I've never tried one because it's kind of like the parasail parachute. It's kind of like that, but I've never tried one. Why do real work whenever you can play instead? But I just got a letter in the mail from my attorney after almost 2 years. One of the counties over is trying to get me for DUI for taking my prescription medication the way I'm supposed to take it. And said they had a call that I was swerving on the road and I wasn't. I was kicking a screwdriver from under my foot. Had all kind of bullshit in their damn story, so I got to go see my lawyer. They did blood work on me and didn't even test for anything other than alcohol. And I told them I don't drink. So hopefully my lawyer will get that thrown out of court. But I'm in a real good mood about that because I already got charged with possession of marijuana. Didn't even have any damn marijuana, and all because I shook hands with a black man. Racism is still alive and well in the South, but it hasn't been too long ago that the Georgia Supreme Court made a couple rulings on prescribed medication and operating a motor vehicle, and it should go in my favor. But then again, small town politics don't always follow what the Georgia Supreme Court says. But yeah, I've learned I don't say nothing to a fucking cop. I don't care if it's my best friend, the sheriff that I grew up with and smoked dope with in high school, drank with, smoked dope with him while he was in uniform, and drank with him while he was in uniform. I won't talk to him now. But needless to say, he doesn't give me any problems because he knows I know too much. Yeah, they put me down for this field sobriety test. On one test, I had 0 out of 6 clues. On the other test, I had 4 out of 8 clues were positive, and I kept falling back. No, I wasn't falling back. I told them I had a bad back to begin with, and I just got through helping my daughter move, and that I hadn't taken my medication since noon that day, and it was 6:45. They asked me what time it is, and I said, "Well, I think it's around 6." They want to use that against me because I don't know the exact fucking time. Is there a law that says I've got to know the exact fucking time? No. And then they wanted to tell me or use it against me that I was going the wrong direction to visit a friend's house. Hell, I'm in a county that I don't even live in. And said that I thought that I was in Jessup, Georgia, instead of Vidalia, Georgia. And it's like, no, you asked me where I live before I live where I live now, and I said Jessup. They fucking lied in their damn statements. They have no chemical analysis of what's in my system at all. Bullshit. But I guarantee you, I'm going to wind up paying about $2,000 fucking dollars because it's all about the fucking money. And shaking hands with that black man cost me about $2,000 fucking dollars. So the next 2 years of my life is going to be dedicated to paying the fucking state of Georgia. A bad tooth could throw a breathalyzer off because part of the byproduct of the bacterial infection would give off alcohol, especially if it's an anaerobic bacterial infection. That would be a fermentation process of infection, and that would give off alcohol. Or if you just use something like Listerine, that will make you blow positive. Although they say that it can tell the breathalyzer can tell the difference between mouthwash and alcohol. No, Listerine is fucking alcohol. 90 something percent alcohol. Yeah, they said that I didn't put heel to toe like I was supposed to. And the first direction I went, I did the 9 steps, but I didn't turn properly. The second 9 steps turned into 10, and I wasn't heel to toe. And then I told them I had balance problems to begin with because of my back. And they said, hold up your leg. And they said, I put it down 4 times. I don't remember putting my leg down 4 times and starting over. And it's supposed to be for 30 seconds. What you think is 30 seconds. And they said it was 58 seconds. Um, I can count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and do 30 seconds. I'm not stupid. Even if I'm dead, stone drunk, or whatever, I'm not stupid. So all that I believe can be, my lawyer can probably have it thrown out. Field sobriety test ain't worth a shit. And then when you want to give me a blood test because you're arresting me for DUI drugs and you don't even test me for drugs, how stupid is that? You've got the technology. And it was on August 4th. They didn't send the damn sample to the lab to be tested until August 25th. 21 days later, they send the evidence off to be tested. My attorney is a good friend of mine. He actually bought family land for my family, so he actually gives me a discount whenever I have any legal work done. I always go to him, and if it happens to be a conflict of interest, then he recommends the best lawyer that he knows for the job, and I still get a discount there too. So instead of $1,200, I wind up paying three. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, my handwriting's not even what it used to be since that accident. I can't stand on one foot and hold my balance. And I told the officer that. They did a sobriety check on me 3 weeks ago. And I told the officer, I've got balance problems. I broke my back about 3 years ago, and I'll do this to the best of my ability, but I've got balance problems. But that little follow the pen with your eye thing, 6 clues to let them know you're intoxicated. None. And I'm supposed to be taking narcotics and antidepressants, but yet they claim my eyes were pinpoint dilate, not dilated, but pinpoint. How, if I'm taking a depressant, are my eyes pinpointed whenever depressants make your eyes dilated? That don't sound right neither. And the first cop that wrote the initial report was going to let my friends drive me home, but the second cop's the one that pushed for being an arrest. It's a bunch of bullshit. And all it boils down to is fucking money. And they don't mind taking it from poor people, because I guarantee you that a rich guy who's got a lawyer on retainer ain't gonna pay a damn red cent, a dime, a nickel, nothing. I fall down at least 2 or 3 times a month because of my balance, and it'll be days that I haven't even had a pain pill or anything for anxiety. I'll just be at the house, happy as a lark, going about my business in the garden, and I'll just lose my balance and fall over. But they're going to use that against me. He had his hands in his pockets. So fucking what? I put my hands in my pockets whenever I'm sitting there talking to them, waiting on them to decide what they're going to ask me next. They've already patted me down. They know I ain't got no weapons. What's my hands in my pockets got to do with it? Am I supposed to sit there and do fucking sign language? If so, I got that one for you. But I don't trust cops. Haven't trusted cops in years. And I damn sure won't call one to my house for an emergency. Somebody breaks in, I'm calling the coroner, because I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch, and then we'll let the court figure it out. I ain't gonna deal with no damn cop. Either that or I'll tie a rock around that motherfucker's damn ankle and throw him out there in the pond and let the turtles eat him. And I don't know. I ain't never seen him. I don't know who you talking about. He ain't been here. Well, where's his truck? He drives. I don't know where his truck is. It'd be in the bottom of that fucking pond too, rusting away. Hey, Dale. All right, Christy. Good to see you again. You're right, Dale. Dead men tells no tales. Because I just got paperwork today from where they're trying to get me for DUI for taking my medication that the doctor prescribed to me August to be 2 years ago. They just now sent the paperwork to my attorney, and he requested it 2 years ago. So I've got to stop by his office, find out what's going on with that, because they're going, and they say is they didn't even test me for drugs on a blood test. They tested me for alcohol. When you're arresting somebody for DUI suspicion of drugs, don't you think that they would do a blood test for drugs, not just alcohol only? It's a bunch of bullshit. So maybe my lawyer can work his magic and get it off, because I got two cop stories that don't jive together. One of them was going to let my friend drive me home, and the other one decided, no, it's an arrest. We're taking him in. because they said somebody called and said I was reckless. I hadn't even been on that damn stretch of highway 3 miles before that cop pulled me over. And there ain't no way in hell they called and he was looking for me, because that son bitch was right across the damn road, parked in a parking lot. I saw him when he pulled out, and I was trying to kick a screwdriver out from under my foot. It was under my foot in the gas pedal. And I swerved a little bit, and that's when he blue lighted me. And I've still got the damn screwdriver, and I'm going to give it to my lawyer as evidence. That was what was under my foot, and that's why I swerved, because I was trying to get it out. And then they said I took too long driving down the shoulder of the road to stop. Well, at 45 and 50 miles an hour, I'm not going to slam on brakes going down the shoulder of a road, because that's a good way to wind up in a ditch. You'll start sliding. I ain't stupid. So they'll try and use that against me. But they've only got 2 clues out of 8 on one test that said I might be under the influence. 0 out of 6 clues on the other that said I was under the influence. And then they draw blood, but they don't test for anything other than alcohol. You're not arresting me for alcohol. Don't you think you ought to see what kind of medication I'm taking and what the concentration is in my bloodstream at the time? In my opinion, my lawyer ought to be able to eat that shit up in court. No, your brother's not going to go to jail over anything that they can charge money for and get away with. They even sent my criminal record that they printed out that same day. And sent, they don't have it, and they can't go back and print another one now. And there's one or two more run-ins with the cops that I've had where I've had to pay a speeding ticket and shaking hands with the black guy that I got screwed over with the judge and his reneging on the fucking plea deal. So it's not on there, so they can't use that against me anyway. That's true. They've got to go by the concentration levels in my bloodstream. And since they didn't perform that test, they don't know how long it was that it had been since I'd taken it. Because I told them, yeah, I helped my daughter move, and I took one earlier in the day around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and this was like 6 or 7 at night. So there's no way, even if they'd have tested, they would have had a concentration high enough to interfere with my ability to operate a vehicle. But they said I kept falling back on their cars, and I was staggering, and my speech was slurring. But I was very articulate and very polite, very well mannered. But the judge will believe them over me anyway. So I'm probably gonna wind up with another $2,000 to fucking pay, and my license be suspended. Hell, they're already suspended for shaking hands with a black man. So I'll be taking a chance anytime I go to work or school, and I won't be doing any driving at night. I don't go over 55. I turn my blinker on. I wear my seatbelt. I pay my insurance, my car tag. There's no reason for you to be pulling me the fuck over at all. I won't give them one. And if a cop gets behind me, I'll whip up in a stranger's driveway and I'll go knock on the door and act like I'm a fucking vacuum cleaner salesman until he goes on by. I ain't playing that bullshit. And I'm going to invest in a damn scanner, and I'll find out where fucking roadblocks are. So that way, if I am working late at night, they'll mess up. They don't always use cell phones. They'll mess up. And if I ain't mistaken, you can get a cell phone scanner too. You just got to pay an exorbitant amount of money for it, and it might just damn well be worth it. But to be honest with you, yeah, I did feel the effects of the medicine while I was driving, but I didn't feel them until after I saw the blue lights behind me. And then the adrenaline took what was left in my system and started pumping it fast. And that's when I felt it. Other than that, I felt normal, like I hadn't even had it. But I'm getting tired of it. If it weren't for my family, I would move the fuck away from here and just be fucking done with it. Get them paid off, move the fuck somewhere else, buy me a couple acres of land next to a national forest, and just be done with it. No fucking neighbors, no nothing. Done. I'm tired of society. Exactly. That's exactly what you do. Tell them that you're missing their potholes that they haven't fixed and they haven't reported. Because there's supposed to be a cop or a deputy go up and down every road in the state at least once a month during the year. So over the course of a month, there should be a deputy drive by my house and know if there's a pothole and report it so it can get fixed. But they don't do that because it costs money to fix potholes and they don't want to spend it. I've told them before I'm entitled to half the road, and by God, if I want to take it down the middle of the road because there's nobody else coming and the sides are in bad shape, my half is right there until somebody else is coming in my direction, and then I'll move over and slow down or maybe even stop, depending on how bad the road is. But I've been pulled over 4 times in the last 6 months on bullshit charges. Said I swerved or I made an improper turn or I changed lanes without turning on my signal light. Just any bullshit reason. And it all started after I got pulled over in Coffee County for shaking hands with that black man. They have a description of my fucking car, and my car is the only Ford Taurus that's got an antenna on it that's a little black floppy one that flops over like that, so I'm easily conspicuous. Even though it's a white Taurus, it's the only one I've ever seen with an antenna like that, so they know me. They know exactly who I am, and they know exactly who they're pulling over whenever they pull me over. And the main thing to do is don't touch the white line. You can cross the center line. They won't blue light you. They they can and they do, but they won't blue light you for that. Like you touch that white line, they will automatically blue light you in Georgia because they say that's more dangerous than crossing the yellow line because you're liable to go off the shoulder and lose control of your vehicle. And I can understand the logic, but come on, this is just like fucking playing tennis. Out of bounds is out of bounds. There ain't no difference. And the last one said I was swerving, wanted to search my car, and it's like, personally, if I weren't in a hurry for class, I would tell you to go call the judge and get a warrant. But since I have nothing to hide anyway, go ahead and search. because I need you to finish your job and get me on my way so I'm not late for class to turn in this quiz I've got to turn in today. This is a bunch of bullshit. They want to wait and send these to my lawyer now because they go to court every 6 months. The original date was in September. I got pulled over in August, and it was September, so that would be October, November, December, January, February, March. February would be the next date, and then April, May, June, July, August, September. This September, they've got to bring it up before the judge. And since they've waited 2 years, there's a good chance the judge will throw it out because they only have 2 years to bring charges against me. And if they don't bring me into the courtroom in 2 years, my attorney can have the charges dismissed. And since it's going to be right on the 2 year mark whenever they pull this shit, my attorney might be able to get it dismissed without anything ever having to go to a trial because he's already said we're going to a jury trial. Fuck that. We want to be heard by a jury of your peers. We're going to make it as hard on them as they want to try and make it on us. I drive 45 to 50 all the time. And I've gotten pulled over because I'm not following the flow of traffic. And it's like, I don't have to. There is no minimum speed limit sign on this highway. And I get my best gas mileage between 45 and 50. This is my money I'm spending. And if you want to pay for my gas, I'll speed up a little bit and I'll follow along at 65 and 70 like they do. So why don't you go chase down somebody who's actually breaking the law and leave me alone? I'm not breaking the law by going underneath the speed limit. Well, you're holding up traffic. So they should have got up 10 minutes damn earlier to make sure they were there on time just in case somebody like me is out driving slow. Because there's a lot of older people on the road that go slower than I do. There's a lot of farm machinery up and down the highways where I live because they've got to go from one field to another. You never know if there's going to be one of those on the road. So you got to take that into consideration. You might have to follow a tractor for 6, 7 miles at 20 miles an hour before you can get around him. It's just a bunch of bullshit. But I did read at the top of my criminal history report that they so nicely printed to submit as evidence that cannot be used against me that nothing I've ever been charged for disqualifies me from holding public office. So maybe I'll run for public office. Oh yeah. And I love getting passed by cops whenever I actually do 65. I love being passed by cops who don't have their blue lights on. Just because they're in a cop car, they can break the law. I love that. And if I didn't think that he would see me pull my video camera up and video my dashboard and him going by me at the same time to show the speed and him walking past me with no blue lights, I damn sure do it. Take it to the courthouse every time. And in Georgia, they let the cops drive the cars home. So that way, if there's an emergency, they can get in their car and they're automatically on the clock. No, motherfucker, you're taking my tax money and spending it to go buy your groceries pick up your kids, do whatever you got to do because you just got off work, and then go home. You're getting a free ride home. You're getting to carry your groceries around for free. You're getting to do all your shopping for free, other than what you buy out of your own pocket. No, that you drive your fucking car down to the damn station and you pick up your car to work in. That's only fair. They make me drive to work when I worked on power lines to get in my work truck to go start work. They didn't let me drive it home. My tax money at work. And they never shut their damn cars off. I can understand that might be a safety hazard, but you don't shut your car off. Well, what happens if some crazy bitch walks up behind your car while you're talking to me and jumps in and hauls ass? Now you just lost your damn car for writing me a ticket and you were stupid and left your damn car running because the keys are in it or else it couldn't run. They're not in your pocket with your doors locked. Dumbasses. Or leave their car running while they go in a restaurant to get lunch and sit there and talk to us for 30 or 40 minutes while the damn car's sitting out there running, burning gas that we're paying for. Pisses me off too. I can't stand a fucking cop. Only 5% of them are worth the shit, and only 5% of them actually want to serve and protect. The other 95% of them are nothing but deadbeats and bullies and scumbags just trying to make a name for themselves. I can't stand them. And I only had one beer in the refrigerator. I should have went to town and got me another 6-pack after I got the mail today, but I didn't do it. I reckon it'll be all right. I'll just take an extra Xanax and I'll be able to go to sleep because I'm mad as hell and I know it's going to be hard for me to go to sleep tonight. And then I've got oral surgery coming up next week to get my smile back so I don't look like a fucking hockey player that retired in South Georgia. The accident that broke my back cracked all my front teeth, so I'm pretty much losing all of them. They said I had 4 good teeth that I could save, and I'm like, why the fuck would I want to save 4? Go ahead and take them all out. I don't want to go to the dentist for 4 damn teeth every year. Just fuck it, take them all out. That's going to be fun. But at least I don't have school to go to next week, and I've already told them at work that I'm not working Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and I've let them know about Friday. Just go ahead and put me on the schedule for Friday. If I got to call out, I'll call out. But I shouldn't be bleeding by then, and I should be able to function and pull a 4-hour shift because she ain't gonna give me no more than 4 hours. I'm winding up with 7 to 8 hours a damn week. She's trying to run me off because she thinks I'm gonna take her damn job. But let me run into the district manager again, and me and her's gonna sit down and have a serious talk. Because with 27 years of experience and almost 10 in this damn fast food chain, you don't put that person at 10 hours a week and then hire 4 other people that are already getting more hours than me. No, especially when I'm the motherfucker training them. No. She's scared I'm going to take her job, and I probably could because every time I walk in there, that store is a fucking wreck, running out of product, running out of material we need to wrap things with, to work with. Maybe I need to take over her damn job. It's been 3 years since I've been in management, done truck orders and schedules. but I'm sure I can catch on real damn quick because I still remember a lot and ain't much changed since I've been there. That, or maybe I'll get a job as a grave digger. A buddy of mine gets paid like $14 an hour, and he's complaining because he works 7 days a week. But yeah, you don't work 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. You might work 6 hours a day, and you get paid $14 an hour, and all of your stuff is just a machine digs the hole. All you do is shovel dirt back in the hole until the family's gone. Then you use the excavator to push the rest of the dirt over it and pile it up. And then you come back later on and you put the headstone on, or either you're loading up bags of concrete to make the concrete vault because sometimes they don't have a vault that they can just drop in a hole. And my back couldn't handle picking up 80-pound bags of concrete. And I'll tell them all real quick because he said the other day he was the only one out of 4 people doing it. And I said, well, what you should have done was looked at him and said, motherfuckers, I ain't the only this damn one getting paid by the hour here. Y'all are too. Get over here and start helping. Or I'm fixing to sit down and we'll figure it out when the boss man gets here. How come I ain't nothing done? Because I ain't doing it all by myself. But yeah, I'll take $14 an hour and I'll be on call 7 days a week. I don't mind it. Don't mind it one bit. Especially for $14 an hour, and most of it's done with heavy equipment. When I did concrete work and was doing house slabs, we all used to kid around that we were so good with running excavators that we could do open heart surgery through a second-story window without even being able to see the patient. I mean, we were that good at it. So, fuck, that's no problem. But we'll see. Because something's got to give. Because I got a feeling by the time I'm through paying off one fine, I'm going to start on another, and it'll be 2 years before I get the rest of this year and next year before I get back to zero. Because I figure if they're going to take my license for this, and I'm already on a suspended license because I shook hands with a black guy and got charged with possession when I didn't have any possession that he found other than paraphernalia. And the judge reneged on the paraphernalia charge just because I couldn't. And I told him flat out, I can't afford $1,200 in the next 3 weeks. There's no way. Well, we can work on that whenever the time comes. Yeah, their idea of work on it was renege and go back to possession. I've known a few folks that worked in the out there on the platforms like that, and they made good money, but it was some hard work and some occasional scary situations. But yeah, that judge reneged on the plea deal my lawyer got, and that pissed me off. And I let the judge, in polite terms in court, know what I thought about him. That I thought it was a little rude and very ungentlemanlike to go back on a deal that you made with one of your lawyer colleagues. That was not appropriate behavior, and I appreciate you ruining my chances to have a job in certain areas that I'm qualified to work in, like my federal peanut inspector. I may not be able to do that this year. If they run a criminal background check, even if it's a misdemeanor, and they see that possession charge, I won't be hired back. So then they've cost me $6 grand a year, which is basically the money I live off of because that's the only time of the year I actually work up until I just started back at Hardee's. And that's $12.50 an hour and 70, 80 hours a week for like 2.5, 3 months. Tears my back up, but I can handle it for that long because I know after that I'm done for the year and I've got money put up to pay my bills and live off of for at least 6 or 7 months. And that gives me time to make arrangements to have garden produce come in and animals to be sold and stuff like that, or get some cast iron done to sell, so it works out that way. But they may have ruined that chance for me. But I haven't forgotten that cop's face, and I haven't forgotten that judge's name. And when he comes up for re-election, I'll be sure and take out a full-page ad in that county's newspaper and tell them what a piece of shit, backstabbing son of a bitch he is. And I'll sign my name at the bottom. I am not scared to put my name on it. Because the first words out of my mouth on that piece of paper where I write that letter will be, in my opinion. Can't sue me for slander if it's my opinion. Can't get me for libel if it's my opinion. Don't work that way. In the town this was in, it was so small, they would have just walked to the other room, unlocked the door, and brought the damn evidence out. If they even still had it. And all they had was a grinder and a pack of papers and residue in the grinder. Not saying that I didn't buy weed from the guy. I'm not saying that. They accused me of it and I told them no. And they were pressuring me and I'm like, I've already told you, I'm not answering any more of your questions. Well, is that your final say? Yes, it is. They brought the drug dog through. They found the grinder. They found the papers. And there was just residue in the grinder. But they didn't find the half ounce of weed that was in a cigarette pack. They went through about 4 or 5 cigarette packs. They were all empty, so they quit going through them. I bailed myself out, got back in my car, opened up my pack. All my weed was still there, so I drove to the first convenience store, walked inside, bought me a pack of papers, sat in the parking lot, rolled one up, fired that baby up, and took off home. I don't know about the intricacies of that part in my state, but I probably should check it out. But it's too late now. There ain't no going back to revisit it. So that's done with and over with. I just got to live with it. I'll wait 4 or 5 years, and if I don't get in any more trouble, I'll just have it expunged. I got a couple other things on my record that I can go ahead and have expunged now, but I'll wait. just do it all at once. Hopefully they'll get it all expunged. And I wish I'd have done that a year or so ago whenever I thought about it. That way they couldn't have got their fucking hands on it for this damn case. It would have never existed. Yeah, it's just like when they drew blood, they only tested it for alcohol. And you're supposed to be arresting me for DUI drugs. You have no proof there's drugs in my system other than the fact that I told you earlier in the day I took my medication like the doctor prescribed. But no, I had not had none in several hours. But they didn't put that in the report. Mm-mm. They just said earlier. They didn't say how much earlier, trying to give themselves wiggle room to say that it could have been 30 minutes earlier. You don't know. You didn't take the blood sample and test it to see what the concentration was, so you can't prove if I'm lying or not. So far, I'm in my second license suspension. The first time was because mandatory 6 month suspension to my license because my tag was out of date. Then I got a suspension for failure to use due care while driving, and it ended right around the same time the other one did. And now I've got this suspension for possession of marijuana. And it wouldn't have mattered if I was walking down the street and they just stopped me on the sidewalk and arrested me for it. I'd still lose my license for 6 months. And that ain't right. You deprive a man of the opportunity to go back into the work. That is cruel and unusual punishment. That is too harsh a sentence to deprive a man of 6 months of the ability to travel to and from work without taking a chance of losing his freedom and his job. And now I'm looking at this one. Because I've researched this case out entirely with the possession charge, and it's a mandatory 6 months in the state of Georgia. Even if I'm walking down the damn sidewalk, I lose my license for 6 months. And that is fucking wrong. That is excessive for the crime. You interfere with a person's ability to make a living and to be safe or feel safe traveling back into the work. That is wrong. And they know it, but it's all about the fucking money. But you can guarantee in the next couple of years it'll be legal in the state of Georgia. Georgia will be one of the last states to legalize it, but they will legalize it because they're going to want that tax money. And the day they legalize it, the next day I'm down at the courthouse getting that expunged. But it took that courthouse a year and a half to send me the evidence against me that I requested and my lawyer requested that very same week. Oh yeah, you live in the South then, don't you? Yeah, they're real big on that down here. They don't like the interracial stuff. Personally, I don't care for the interracial commercials on TV and shit and promoting it and all that, but if you fall in love with somebody who's not the same race as you, there's nothing I can do about it. That's who you love and they love you, and if you're happy together, I'm all for it. Oh yeah. Mississippi, Georgia, and Alabama are the worst ones whenever it comes to being racist. And I think Georgia ranks right behind Mississippi if we're not neck and neck. Because I don't think Alabama's quite as bad as us, but they're bad too. Because that's the only reason why I got pulled over is because I shook hands with a black man. White guy shaking hands with a black man is a reason to pull a guy over. A reason to follow him through town, then pull him over once he reaches the city limits. But he made sure he turned those blue lights on before he reached the city limits because it was outside the city limits where I was pulled over. But he made sure he got those blue lights on so it would be legal. And as soon as I can afford it, I'm going to get two dash cams, one for the back of my car and one for the front of my car, so that everywhere I go, I've got camera coverage just like they do. These damn Democrats have turned it into a fucking police state. Hell, in high school, we had a cop that would pull up next to us in the morning because we'd all get together and smoke a joint before class, and then we go to school high. He'd steal our damn weed from us, and then you'd see the smoke coming out of his cop car window as we're driving back to school mad as hell because he done stole our allowance money because we used it all to buy a sack of weed, and him smoking the one we were smoking on, and it just billowing out the fucking window. He died a few years ago, and I can't say as I'm sorry because I hated that son of a bitch and I hated his goddamn son. His son would fuck anybody's girlfriend he could get his hands on, wouldn't support his own kids. And since his daddy would steal our weed and he wanted to hang out with us because we were the cool kids, we'd get him drunk where he'd throw up all over himself. And either we'd leave him with the throw up on him on the side of the road because we knew his daddy'd be out on patrol that night, or we'd take him to the car wash and we'd pressure wash his ass and then set him on the damn side of the road. And when we pressure washed him, we made sure we got close enough that it actually didn't take the hide off, but the next day he was still good and red from it. Yeah, I used to smoke dope with the sheriff and drink beer with him before he was the sheriff, even while he was in uniform. So needless to say, I do get a little special treatment, but I'm still not talking to him. I don't trust him now. And that's probably why we get along because he don't trust me because he knows I got the memories of the things we used to do, and come re-election time, all I got to do is open my mouth and he won't get re-elected. We had a sheriff in the next county over that committed suicide because he got caught having a bunch of farmers grow weed for him. And then he had a bunch of us college kids selling it for him. And we'd go to his house and smoke with the sheriff. And man, that was some good shit. I ain't gonna lie to you, that was some of the best weed I ever had in my life. It was damn near medical grade. It was good. But I didn't know him well enough to sell for him. But I figured if he was stupid enough to sell it to me, I'd buy it. And I bought from him, but I never would sell for him. But after he got caught, he committed suicide. And hell, he'd been doing it for 10, 15 years. And the only reason why he committed suicide because he would have lost everything he owned and his life savings. And he committed suicide in a way that it didn't look like suicide, it looked like an accident. So his wife and family got the insurance money and all the land and all the savings that he'd acquired. He did it for them. That way the state couldn't get their hands on it. The guy they were going to put in jail and take everything that they owned wasn't alive anymore, so you can't take it from the kids. They're not charged with the crime. You can't take it from the wife. She's not charged with a crime. So he did it to make sure they were taken care of. Not because he was worried about going to jail, because hell, half of them in there he knew, and he'd got along great with them because at one point or another, most of them worked for him anyway. And whenever they got out, they'd have had a job working for him, but he didn't want his small fortune that he amassed to be taken and leave his family broke and owing with nothing to show for it. So he made it look like an accident, and his family collected the insurance money. They got to keep the land, and they got to keep all the money he had hid, and all the evidence, the money and evidence had to go back to them. Bank accounts had to go back to them. Everything. And it took them a while to get all the money from evidence. It took them about a year and a half in the court battle to get that, but they got that back too because the guy on trial wasn't there to defend himself, so you got to give the money back. And they had to appeal it once, and on the appeal, the judge overruled the first judge and gave him the money back. That's good because in my small town, we have a lot of out of town rookies. They come here because they know my town is full of drugs and drug dealers, and they just want to get a few good arrests under their belt and then move on to a bigger town for more money. They never stay more than about 3 to 5 years, and then they're gone. My town has pretty much quit hiring local people. We've got a few local deputies, but as far as police officers in the city, I don't know a damn one of them that's from here. They're all from out of town. And a few, I know one of them that gets to drive her car home to the next county over, and that's not right. Why should why should we be using our tax money to pay for her to drive 45 miles one way to get home and 45 miles to get back to go to work? That ain't right. Pisses me off. But one day they'll figure out that we had a lot less problem with our jail population. We had a lot less problem with crime when we had local boys, because local boys knew who was who. They knew how to handle them without taking them to jail, and they knew how to get problems solved without involving the courts. And it saved the town money, and things ran a lot smoother. But they thought that if we bring in folks from out of town, we'll start getting money from fines. And yeah, they started getting money from fines, but they also got a high turnover rate where now they've got to train cops every year. They abuse the squad cars because they know they're not going to be here but a few years. So every year we've got to buy 3 to 5 more cars. It's just a waste of money. It costs us more to hire guys from out of town than it does to have local guys. And they ain't figured that out yet. You guys are going to have to excuse me for a minute. I got one swallow left, and it's time to switch over to sweet tea, and I've got to use the bathroom, so I'll be right back. All right. I can check, but it doesn't tell me all the participants. No, it's just showing me and my alter ego. That's my phone that's sitting beside me. So it must be you and my alter ego right now. I guess everybody else is giving up for tonight. Last night we had a great one. There was like 8 people at one time in. Cat, if you try to jump up in my lap, I'm going to slap you so hard your whiskers are going to wiggle. You know you don't get in my lap. But no, sir, I don't trust cops. I don't trust the government. And I think All right, Dale. I appreciate you stopping in because I'm fixing to take a Xanax and half of a Percocet because my muscles are so tense from being aggravated that my back's hurting and my nerves are still shot out from this bullshit. They could have waited and let this go on, but no, this is their last chance to get money from me. And it'll be next September. And by then, I'll be through paying off one and it's starting another one and still won't have a damn driver's license. Luckily, I don't have to drive no more than 15 miles one way for a job. So as long as I ain't out late at night, I'm all right. Yeah, and I've got a lot to get done tomorrow before I go to work. So being out of school, I got my Irish potatoes. I got the big weeds pulled out, and the rest of them are winter weeds, and I put my fertilizer down. So tomorrow I've got to go heal them up, cover up all those winter weeds so they don't come back, and then I've got to clean out my onions and get all that done. I reckon I'll just pile those weeds up and feed them to the chickens. They'll appreciate the green stuff. They don't get it as much as the goats do. But anyway, Dale, you have a good night, buddy, and I'll see you on the next time you pop in for. Oh, New Zealand's got an active shooter at a mosque. It just popped up on my news feed. Shoot them damn Muslims. Let's start with the ones in Congress first, though. But anyway, you have a good night. I'm gonna hang out here for probably another 10 or 15 minutes, see if somebody shows up. If not, then I'm gonna call it a night and start watching videos. Give some folks a chance to catch up and get some watch time. I'll be planting tomatoes in the next week or two. I'm gonna have to buy plants to get some disease resistance ones, but I'm gonna start me some more Cherokee purple. I'm gonna have them. Damn cat killed 35 of them, knocked the tray over that I had them all in, and broke every one of them. They weren't but like 3 days old. Broke every stem over. I have three tomatoes that sprouted since then, and I don't know if they're Cherokee purple or green sausage. I'm hoping for green sausage because I like green tomatoes too, but we'll see. If not, then I'll just have to order me some seed and have a late crop of them and do the best I can to keep the blight and the viruses off of them. I might have to go nuclear and use real pesticide to keep the thrips and aphids down so I don't get the tobacco mosaic virus or the spotted wilt virus.
Hey, it's Chris. I'm standing the hard way. And y'all excuse my dog. She's on the way to right now to start barking. Had a couple of things I want to share with y'all. I know we put the videos out. That's what I have to do. Spoke to this pig in this pen thing. She's just said in 2 weeks I ain't gonna run her off. We'll just wait a week. We'll do a piggy check in a minute. Here's something I want to share with you. You've heard me mention it before. But your local county extension office is an overlooked resource. I find that a lot of people that are new to this don't even know they exist. But every county has an extension office. I believe that's true in every state. I asked a woman about that day. She said as far as she knew, every county in America had an extension office. Unless it was very, very urban, like New York, whatever county New York in, state, New York City, maybe. As far as anywhere even remotely rural. They've got a livestock agent, they've got a road crop agent, they've got somebody who knows about fruit trees, grapevines, anything you need to know, there's somebody there that knows something about it. They're more than willing to help you. They're willing to tell you what you can and can't do. They can tell you about some legal issues, what the laws are. They're a very overlooked resource, and I'm good friends with a couple of the local agents. I told them I'd try to get it out there that they even exist. I imagine a lot of people don't exist. I'll let her give you this be the 11-week piggy check. 11-week piggy check. Well, I've only got 2 left. There's 2 I kept for breeding. There's 2 I kept to be mama pigs. The rest of them are gone. Yeah, I got the last 2 today. I'll let her show you what it looks like. Bear in mind, we're doing a weekly, which we've been slack. We didn't get any out the last week or so. I'm trying to give you a view of what it should look like at each age. Now, honestly, this is the best looking little gill out of this litter of pigs and the rump. So you'll notice one of them is smaller than the other, but she is the rump. And she's a pretty pig, and I kept her because a lot of people like a puppy, they think a rump puppy is going to be the best. A lot of people think a rump gill is going to be the best. I haven't exactly made my mind up on that, but I kept her so she gets older. And she's not what I want, we didn't want to eat anyway. But I'm going to let her go look at that. It's going to be a few days probably before I do another video. We've got to do a how to chop video, something I want to do, and we got a milk I want to do later tonight. But let her take you over there and show you that. I appreciate you watching. Y'all have a good evening.
I know you hear my commercial playing in the background for another video that I'm watching. Wait to see if somebody shows up. But I'm guessing nobody's going to show up. So, 1 more minute, I'm going to cut this off.
Hello, welcome once again to Lake Jones Law. I'm Steve Laytail. Today we're going to discuss whether or not you have to identify yourself to a police officer. Cop walks up, asks you who you are. Do you have to identify yourself? As you might imagine,